Hey, and we are back with Lee. We were just kind of talking about everything leading up to um, being affirmed. We were talking about what was the appeal of Chad. And so we were kind of continuing the conversation with um,
My
you guys' exit.
strategies.
Yeah, your
Okay.
strategies. And then, you had just been affirmed.
Yeah.
Lindsay had been a big part of this conference that was put on called the Table Conference, had gotten speakers. It was a big
Yeah. It
deal.
was huge.
I think the house was packed out.
Yeah.
And the next thing we know,
Yeah.
so when I guess my
I
question
was
to you
going
is,
to. I was talking too fast the last time.
no, you're good.
I'll try to slow down.
And so I guess my question to you is, when did it turn?
Yeah.
When did all of a sudden
Yeah.
you start becoming the enemy?
Yeah. Well, so I guess I would have to say I was always being groomed into that position. I kind of going back to what we talked about before, where I would be in the room for every firing because of my vocational position on staff.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times he would have me doing it. After again gaslighting me into there not being any other solution besides this person has to go. So I'll do what you say. Let's go. Have the meeting. And so now, when I'm gone or in other meetings that I found out he was starting to have, I could be the bad guy. So Lee's the one that's really dismantling things. Lee's the one that's really, coming after everybody, and like he's a
So
bag hand, which is played out multiple times, like you talked about in the last episode. Like it's another cycle.
yeah. So he puts you in those positions to be the bad guy. He would make you have those meetings. Here's the question. So you were part of the meetings when staff members would be let go or people would be corrected or let go. Would he put you in the position to do the talking? Like, were you the guy that had to like give the news
I
type
mean,
of
at the
thing?
time, again, because of how like he wouldn't stop talking about it. It was obsessive
Right.
about these people. So I would usually have to do some of the talking because he would basically shut down the meeting. But there were some that he would talk. So it's probably 50-50. But yeah, and that's the part where I'm saying like I'm culpable because I did it. I should have just told him to go pound
Yeah.
sand. And I didn't when it came to that kind of thing.
So let's give an example. So let's say, play example. Let's say I'm on staff. I'm a staff member that you've heard all of these things
Yeah.
about. He's told you all of these things. He said, blah blah blah. They're the worst person.
He's probably gaslit the person. I mean, I'll give you a real example without names. I've got tons of them. Unfortunately, but there was an individual that he had told one thing to before the meeting for weeks, months probably, and then in the meeting was saying something completely contradictory to what he had told them before, which then elicited an emotional response from this person,
Right.
who is now to me acting like they're crazy.
Because
It looked like they're having some kind of panic attack, because they probably were, because he was bringing in that panic. He was creating the panic attack
gaslighting.
because of what he had just done. He had just told him something and then completely pivoted and taken that back and saying something completely different. And this person's freaking out. And I'm thinking, I mean, like, again, like, I'm like, we wouldn't be caring or loving if we kept this person in the position that they're in and worked them to death. They need to go get like healthy and whole. So like, let's pay them to go on a sabbatical. Let's, see, like, put them in the counseling program, which the whole counseling thing was a
joke.
Yeah, thank you. But like, it was, to me, I'm like, this is a thing. We had licensed counselors we sent him to, but like the whole thing was not great. Like, even the like, I won't name the name of the licensed counselor, but like even the out of house licensed counselor, we found out was sharing full transcripts of their personal information,
Huge
confidentiality. Those, and the way they got around it, or the way they said they got around it, was because the church was paying for it. So you're thinking the church is doing you a favor by paying for your counseling, and then they're getting access to like HIPAA violation type stuff. So anyway,
I can validate that because this did not happen at Bridgeway, but I had a very similar experience with the church where they offered to pay for the counseling. I went to the counselor. The counselor, I did not know that they were going to do this. The counselor gave me a confidentiality agreement that I had to sign saying that she could share this information with them since they were paying. And that's when I found out. And that's when I said, no, I'll pay it for it myself.
Just opt out, man. Just opt out.
So that does happen.
Don't
for sure.
Say no.
Yeah, say no.
Yeah.
So you get in there, the parent, so now they look, I mean, it's the ultimate gaslighting. For those that we talked about
like
this
twice,
on our,
gaslit.
Yeah. And it's like, we talk about this on our other podcast, but like basically for those of you who don't know, gaslighting is where I basically push you to a response. You have a response to my action, but the problem is not my action, it's your response to my action. So now I make you feel like you are wrong and you're crazy for having a response.
And you believe that it is because you're having the response.
Yeah. So the attention is not on what I did, it's on your response.
Yeah.
And that happens so many times in spiritual atmospheres and in churches. I mean, and so you're having these conversations with the staff.
Yeah.
I mean, and from my perspective, Bridgeway had one of the highest turnover rates
It was
of any church. Like, it was insane. Like, I think there was like 3 different youth pastors just in the couple of years I was there.
Well, just the amount of staff it took. I mean, that's the thing. Like, and this is, if there could be any encouragement for anybody out there who's got a church, like, it's to keep this kind of show going, it is very expensive. So for the folks out there that are like, this is awful, well, it's very expensive. They got to pay for it, so not people can do it. It was 25 full-time employees to keep those plates spinning, and almost $3 million budget. So like, this isn't like a cheap thing, but like, this is
not your backwoods
very
small
expensive,
church.
very problematic vanity project, and that's the cost of it. So.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean, it's one of the highest turnover rates for staff. I mean, because people are just getting gatlets back and forth. I mean, and obviously you were not the first person in your position. There had been like before you,
or maybe
right? So all of this is going on. So I guess you've been being set up to kind of be that person. So when did it happen? Like, what was the moment that it really turned for you?
The crazy thing, again, too, is that like God was moving, and there were legitimate words of God, like legitimate prophetic words that were happening, dreams and visions that were happening, that we were recording. That really the most ironic one was that the word from God. I'm using air quotes that nobody can see if they're listening. The word from God at that moment, kind of like right before I was put on my sabbatical, before I was sabbaticaled, was that the new kind of focus is going to be on love. It was going to be all about love. God had dealt with both me and Chad personally, but we had each written out names of individuals that we knew that we had harmed. Right. So like, these are people that were on my apology tour list in the future. But like, even in that situation, like, God had done some softening. Again, I don't know for him if it was an act or if it was legit, but either way, like, we had, like, I could show you my list of people, of individuals that we had wronged, and we were going to go and try to make amends. And that was leading up to, which was kind of also ironic, the Heidi Baker service, which, I mean, that's her thing, is love. Right. So, that seemed like everything was going great. And it was when essentially we were going to start addressing some of these kind of wrongs, not just talk about it, but do it.
Right.
Which I think is kind of the thing when your feet are out of the flame is when you kind of flinch. So, once that was getting ready to have to start happening, or not have to start happening, we were going to do it. But we both agreed that the timing was now. I needed to go get healed. I needed to go on a 3-month sabbatical, and that was like November of 2018. So I got sabbaticaled.
We got sabbaticaled. Sent off.
The most ironic part about the sabbaticaling was nobody told me what I was being. I was being sabbatical because I needed to be less black and white and more white and white. So like, I was a cop, and I am kind of black and white when it comes to things. So yeah,
analytical.
I need to be a little softer and have worked on that. But that was it. And then, but there was no like instruction, like, okay, you're not going to, there's no counseling. There's no like, do some daily devos. There's no books to read. It was just kind of like, you've been sabbaticaled, and then they forgot that I existed. And it
doesn't come directly from Chad, like, came to you and said, you're going to be sabbatical. This is what.
Yeah. They don't say sabbatical, but that's what it means. That's
right.
That's what happens to you. Yeah. So, and then I was supposed to not have access to any staff related anything. So I got completely cut off, which I was like, that seems kind of weird, especially if I was in the position that I was in. Right. You can't just cut like the COO's position. I'm responsible for daily operations. There's a lot of important things that have to get done that I was signing off on. So like, practically speaking, it didn't make any sense. Right. So I felt like something was off then. And sure enough, it kind of came out in December.
Yeah. So you go off to be sabbatical. Chad comes to you. When he came to you with it, how did he come to you with it? Did he frame it as the Lord told me, I had a dream?
Oh, yeah, always God told me. Yeah, the God's highlighting, God told me. So that's and disobedience to him is disobedience to God. Yeah. Is how he always portray it.
So you go off on this trip. Now, was there anything laid out for you if you're going to go this long and then you're going to come back at this time and then we're going to reinstate you into?
I mean, when a organization, a church, puts somebody on a sabbatical, there's like a process to it or a hopeful end result as well. In fall, because the church is paying for it, right? So there's a level of responsibility. So there's none of that was given, which again is kind of when I felt like something probably the shoe's about to drop.
Yeah.
And then also too, there were some behind the scenes things that nobody really knew about that I was challenging him on, which I think are probably the nails in my coffin.
And how was his reaction to that?
I mean, not great.
Yeah.
So, because I got let go right
Right.
after. So,
Right.
but I can talk about them without sharing details too, just so people understand like some of these things that essentially I was trying to bring some correction to, if that's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I think, expound upon that as much as you want to. And I think too, it's because I think what's helpful is it's just interesting, I think, for a lot of people to hear that from the person being there, having these conversations with everybody else. And you had challenged Chad before, and Chad had seemed to take it well and use it as examples of, look how humble I am. To now you're being turned into the very person that you used to have the conversations with.
Yeah.
And now he's not signing things so well. Yeah. So what did that look like?
So, I mean, I did revamp a lot of the like org chart and structure and stuff like that. Like I was saying, I was trying to flatten things out, make things more accountable, really to hold, it sounds silly, but to hold Chad accountable to not changing everything. So like, even on like the job descriptions, like I actually would go bullet point out what the actual job descriptions were, where they didn't have that before. Just so that, if he comes and tries to add something to a list, it should be reflected in a person's pay. There should be compensated for, like, they can't just keep doing every random thing that he has to do. So, I guess the thing that was a challenge that I tried to overcome was the thing with the elder board.
Mhm.
Yeah, you kind of talked about before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can jump straight to that. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So that was one of the things. So, there was a church has to have, governing document. And so for us, that was the bylaws. And so that's part of you creating your nonprofit. It's just a requirement by the state. So, part of the bylaws for us required that you couldn't have more than a 48 or 49%. You couldn't have over half of the elders being on staff, which for the reasons you've talked about in the past, like obviously then that means that there's really no reason for the elder board to exist because you go with the majority vote for most everything. There's only in our bylaws, it was only you had the only things you had to have total consensus on where everybody voted was removing the senior pastor, which can never happen if over half of them are.
He's signing their paychecks.
Yeah. So, and the other thing I thought was strange that again, a concern I brought up was, if that's the case, then what is the point of meeting as elders then? We should just send them meeting notes because you could meet during the office hours and make decisions.
Why waste the time?
So why are we wasting these people's time? We could just let them know that what we decided since they couldn't make a change anyways. So it just seemed really weird and was super odd. And so he was trying to have the bylaws changed. And I was trying to explain that that's not, they're there for a reason.
Right. And it's a legal document. This is not like church
legally binding documents. What our nonprofits based off of is our, ability to adhere to that. So that was weird. And I raised concern, wasn't going to back down. I think it was kind of obvious. I mean, the other big thing was there was a individual who, had levied like heavy accusations against Chad. And my thing was, if somebody has out with their brother, then, you go to them first, right? So there's biblical ground for doing that. So, this person had not been permitted to do that. And so my thing was that's unbiblical. So like, I want to help facilitate this conversation to happen. And this person had actually requested, since he couldn't get that, he requested respectfully to have the conversation with the elder board. And so I was trying to orchestrate and coordinate that. And I was getting all this really weird, awkward pushback that made no sense. It just felt these are the points that I was like, all right, this is
alarm bells start
something is really, really, really off. And I don't think I'm going to probably last very long after, pushing these things. But there were things that I'd already compromised in ways that I would never have dreamed of compromising. So
You
like,
knew you were pushing it.
this is one of those things where I was like, this is a bridge too far. Like I can't, like no way.
No pun intended.
Like I have to. Yeah, that's right. Which way? Yeah. Anyways, but those are kind of the moments for me, and there's a lot of other little things that kind of played out over time, but those are the two big ones.
Yeah, I think So, for instance, and again, going back to the pinpointing thing, he would use everybody against everybody else, that the attention wasn't on him, who was really causing the issues to begin with. So, something that he would do, for instance, I remember with the worship team, I know Lindsay can attest to this in her own story, but he would pin worship leaders against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So he would compare them to each other. So would lead worship this Sunday, and then the next Sunday, so-and-so would lead worship. And then he would critique that worship leader and say, why aren't you like so-and-so? And you need to be more like so-and-so, and so-and-so brings more power, and you need to bring more power, or the atmosphere shifted like this. And so I know that he was doing that with other people on staff, where he was purposely pinpointing,
against each other,
pitting people against each other to cause division, to cause competitiveness, to also cause people to be in rivalry with each other for his ear and for his attention and for his love, because that's how promotion came, like you said, all while diverting from him. It's all deflection. It was all him deflecting from himself.
Yeah, well, and the craziest thing was that even so, there was a degree of that happening, but then even the deflection, like even us talking about this right now, like it would all be used as evidence to show how important he is. Look, people are still talking about me, is what he was likely saying if he's listening to any of this. Which, no, we're not doing that for that purpose. We're doing it because we're trying to help people never experience these things, themselves. But like that's that. So even like negative press, I guess, is the reason why I'm saying
all press
negative
press.
Yeah, negative things are like, oh my gosh, look, they're still, and then you're like, oh yeah, they still are talking about him. This is crazy. They keep obsessing over it. Really, they're trying to like
bring exposure, right?
Soul,
say somebody else who's at work. Yeah, which is crazy, because in the end, what we've talked about is he ultimately became a victim of the very thing he perpetuated, because just as much as you were the scapegoat and he placed other people to be the scapegoats and let go, ultimately he ended up being the ultimate one to take that fall, him and Wendy both, while the other people who were also complicit with him that are still at the church, the elder board and the other people in leadership, got to wipe their hands clean. And they took the same approach that he did when he fired Joe, which was, we talked a little bit about this. So, when he let Joe go, you remember
which was crazy because he did the same thing.
Right. He placed all the blame on Joe to make himself look good, as if, and he spun it in like such a master manipulative way to say, I've heard your complaints. I heard about staff abuses. I've heard your stories about blah, blah, blah. But hey, it's not me. It was Joe this whole time. So now that I've gotten rid of Joe, I've handled it, guys. And then ultimately, he ended up being in that exact same position while the elder board and everybody else stood there and said, see, it's Chad. We've gotten rid of Chad. It was always just Chad, nobody else. And now, he's become a victim of the very thing he set into motion to begin with. It's sad. I mean, it's really crazy. And I think, so for you, you're in this place. So you go on this, going back to that, you go on the sabbatical, you come back, and then what?
Well, so this is the not fun part, and I may smile and laugh that's my awkward nervousness, because it's like, I don't know how to say this without getting upset.
Right.
So I come back I'm not actually back from sabbatical. I never actually went through the entire sabbatical period. Like I got sabbaticaled, and then lo and behold, God speaks to Chad through another angel, and it's time for me to go. Well, the craziest thing is that this is in December, and I had just buried my grandpa. I had just gotten back home from that trip, and the day I got back, he called me and Lindsay and was like, hey, this is an emergency meeting. You guys need to be in the office tomorrow. Give us no heads up. We have no clue what this is. Complete ambush. Show up the next day. So this is the day after I get back from burying my grandpa, which is like a really pivotal figure in my life. And sitting in the room is the counselor that Lindsay was assigned to give her counseling for the issues that she was supposedly having. And just happened to be his roommate and best friend, right? So like they're buddies. And I'm being told that, hey, God has told me that your time here is over. An angel has appeared to me. I can't tell you what the angel said. I'm like, it's just not. These are not the grounds for removal that you would think you'd be
An angel or here to me. Why?
Yeah, like less than a month or whatever it was after, this massive, really cool like table conference we just had with all this affirmation. And so I had questions. I was like, I would like to know can you know what the angel said?
All right, if an angel
Just to you,
it's
ending my employment, and that's something too. I'd say if anybody's listening, like, I appreciate churches' desires to hire both husband and wife on staff, but I would advise anybody listening to this against saying yes to that. A lot of times because, sorry, this is getting on
no, that's a good word. That's a good word.
But a lot of time, and this is coming from previous experience too, working at another church down in Jackson. But like the tendency is the thought is to hire both spouses so that they're going to be close to each other, they'll spend more time together, it'll help prevent divorce because they're not always away. Really what it's doing is it's making it so you're always available to work, because any special event you're going to be there for because your spouse is also there,
and your entire life at that point revolves around.
And that's the scary part,
the thing,
and that is ill-advised for any company that you'd be working for, definitely not a church. So anyway, so both me and so then I'm in there, he's trying to invoke God's name to fire me, right? And then for my wife, he's just sharing that there was a meeting that he had that he was in, and she had asked a clarifying question. Basically, he was like trying to understand what he was talking about, because a lot of times he would say things and nobody knew what he's saying, but she just knew not to ask. And she asked, and that was the sign that she wasn't submitted. And so if you're not submitted, asking a question, which the counselor had disclosed her having asked more, like having been like, yeah, like this came up in a meeting, I was concerned, like I don't know what he's talking about, I kind of need to know for my job, like yada yada yada,
thinking she's in a safe space.
Then he's sharing that with, like, he's affirming, like you did, and you were in the wrong, and all this stuff. And I was sat there, I have it audio recorded, I sat there and was kind of calm, cool, and collected, and just asking, hey, like, can you I would like to, if both me and my spouse are being fired here on the spot for no real, like I haven't heard a single technical reason for it besides God said, and you won't even say what it is that he said, I just would like to know. And he got like visibly agitated, shouting and yelling, and he set him off, completely flipped. And I had to tap Lindsay and be like, hey, we have to go, because like we had childcare, and he just wouldn't stop.
Just ranting.
I had to walk out the room, because we had to go. So it was out of control. But that was right before Christmas, so we lost our jobs at the same time. I have to bury my grandpa right before Christmas. I had to go home and explain that to my daughter.
Yeah, that's rough. That's so rough, and it's so it's classic abusive, narcissistic behavior, that when you call them out on their behavior, or that you do a, hey, got you, like I've caught you, that their next tactic is just explode. Just explode and go crazy. And it's so wild, because there's such a theme when you hear, I've heard so many people's stories, and I've heard not only you and Lindsay's story, but I've heard so many of the other former staff members' stories who I know. And it's just wild to me, the stuff that happened. And it's wild. And one of the common things that I was able to piece together, and you shared as well, that I think is really interesting, is how he would use the method of counseling, quote unquote, to get information,
like data mining.
And then that information would be fed to him by these counselors, and then he would take that information, not only share it or use it against you, but he would twist it into a spiritual manipulative way, to where now you don't know that information is shared. It's supposed to be a word from God. He got a word, an angel appeared, he had a dream, whatever it was, and it would just so happen to be the information that you just shared in the counseling session that's now being used against you.
or you had the breezies. There was so many funny things too. I was thinking of that we were talking about. But
Yeah, talk about those because that's something I want to get to.
All of his confirmations from God,
The signs and the
how he had his-
wonders that he
like
would
no
claim.
joke. This is no exaggeration. This pillow has feathers in it.
Yes, we're sitting on.
There was in his office. There were pillows with feathers in it, and we had a collection of feathers that he claimed were signs from God. They were angel feathers
that had fallen from the sky.
That had literally fallen. And I'm not the only person who's remembers this. And at some point after one of those meetings, it was pointed out to him by an individual that the feathers were coming out of the pillows, and they looked just like that. So
the feathers he was going to look like
he tried to claim that they were different than those. They're the same.
He's plucking feathers up the damn pillow.
So he just happened to sit in the chair with feathers in it. So then the breezes, you get the wind of the spear would come and hit him, and it would actually and this is not funny, but several times, even his wife would be like, "Hey, that's the air conditioning is kicked on." People were trying to help the guy.
I mean, it's wild, right? Because when you
and not that there's not spiritual things that happen. I've had spiritual things, crazy things happen my whole life. Sure. It's just it just can't always be happening.
Right. And it's and let me explain this for some of you who are listening, because I know I've had some of you who have listened to me talk about this, and the thing that I think has been commonly commented on by those people who come from different backgrounds, who either are listening and they don't come from a church background, or they come from a different denomination besides what I think where we come from. You say something like Chad had a word, an angel appeared, feathers fall on time travel,
angels,
any of the blue angels, igniter. If you say any of that, those people are literally messaging me and they're going, what the hell? What?
How did you get there?
How did you get there? How did you believe that crap? Well, Ashley made a great point, because Ashley again comes from a Southern Baptist background. Ashley's like, if you would have told me in those years that if I would have been in that service and I heard Chad say there was a blue angel named Igniter,
we got to get it.
She's like, I would have walked out the room because this man is crazy. It's a people wonder that, but what people don't understand is when you come from our circles and you're so enriched in that, and you have such a understanding of the supernatural, or such an openness and the experience of the supernatural, those things are not out of character. Those things are off their end.
I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff growing up, and it's been amazing, spontaneous healings and
but he knew how to prey upon that.
Yeah, he would just capitalize on it and made it all about the signs and wonders. Again, these are tools and tactics to validate a position.
Tell the story. I remember one that was used particularly with you in it, and I'll let you tell the story. There was a particular sign of wonder that he told several times from stage about him time traveling.
Yeah,
about you and him time traveling, or to that effect. And he would always mention you and say that you're the one that could validate for this. Tell the truth behind that one.
So I had a mile tracker on my Jeep, because I was using mileage right, and so it automatically logged your miles. And he had left. We both left this elder meeting and went to cookout, and there was a confrontation that was going to happen that I essentially prevented from happening. Is what you would have said.
At cookout.
Yeah, at cookout, that he was he didn't know about, and I had basically saved him from that, and was trying to say that I got there. I don't remember exactly which was which, who got there, the chicken or the egg, but either he got there after, I got there before, but it was just one of those things where it was likely we just were driving at different miles per hour or something. He stopped at a stoplight that I didn't stop at, and
he literally claimed that it was
he would say somebody had, I had teleported, because that was again,
he's dressed to be there when it was.
These are all things too. It's all right, in these charismatic circles, basically any example that you can think of that. I've heard of, pastors out west. Well, we talk about, so and so was going to a conference and it was teleportation or whatever, and they, because there's these examples in the Bible of these things happening. Right. So it's all right, cool. Old Gator and the kind of stuff, right. Yeah, totally. Old Testament, New Testament examples. So anyways, it's just any of these things are possible for us who've come from these charismatic backgrounds. We've seen a lot of these things happen. And so then it becomes one of these tools of manipulation then to be able to validate a person's platform ministry, which again should never be the case. if these things really are happening, they're happening on behalf of his kids, not because the man of God is special. Like there is nobody that's more special than you.
I mean, which is so crazy because really, there's really no other way to put it or to compare it. I mean, you would hear Chad talk about these signs and wonders and angels talking to him and him getting messages and dreams and all this kind of stuff. I mean, and I can't help but think now in hindsight, it's the same crap that Jim Jones was saying. It's the same mess that Charles Manson
these are like
was saying. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind. I don't think it's extreme to say. I think you would have kept giving him ammo and keep giving him years. It would only have been a matter of time till you had like a Charles Manson, Jim Jones situation on your hands.
Well, I mean, I think you saw some of that level of depravity in the end, where like you're talking about the example of putting somebody on stage and publicly shaming them. That is. I don't, I can't really talk about that without, getting emotional. Like that's to think about doing that to another human being on that level, like just being put on just be put on a stage in general. Like if people have nightmares of their teeth falling out on a stage, now they're being on a stage, like these are scenarios that socially are, accepted as like really high level, high risk, places that people are normally like dreaming of being embarrassed on. And you're going to take that primal kind of thing and then prey on it.
So I think what happens too is, so in that example, I think what happens is it not only was the intention you pull on the gift, but eventually you kill the gift. And you do that by pulling on it, and then you shame somebody because of it on the very platform that they're meant to be used on, because this person had a legitimate gift to speak and teaching. She was phenomenal. And she was a phenomenal teacher. And but then you put them and you shame them in the very place they're meant to be used. So it kills the platform. So now anytime that person leaves and thinks about a stage again, if they associate it with that moment.
And that is demonic.
It's terrible.
Like there's just no other way to say it. Like that's not like
that's not an exaggeration.
That's the devil. Like who else would want to take somebody's God-given gift that they're trying to use for his glory and then give that person such a bad taste in their mouth
that they never
use that
again.
Application. They and these people have never used it again. I can say I don't know that I will.
I don't think I've ever
go back on staff. Yeah. And I personally would prefer never to go back on staff, and don't think I will at a church. So like I would include myself in that group. Like I don't like the long-term effects of these things. Like that's
the destruction.
It is demonic. It's not on accident. It's not because this person, did some kind of grayish, thing. Like this is the acts of the devil against the children of God, and what makes him happier than using that platform that's supposed to be God's platform against his own kids. And that's
so you leave, all this stuff, you got
sabbatical,
then let go. And then you have the screaming match and you leave. And then afterwards, talk. So now talk about the afterwards, the onslaught, the assassination, the NDA, the leaving of your community, the having to go on your own apology tour.
Yeah, I mean, so that so we get let go. A funny little known fact, can I share?
Yeah.
So we're at home, and Lindsay's checking her email or calendar or something. We're all synced with Gmail, whatever. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I got logged out." And as soon as that happened, I went over to maybe this is petty of me, but I went to my laptop, my work laptop, where I have everything on, like all of our files, and turned the Wi-Fi off, and then bought an external hard drive and data dumped
there you go
everything, because I want to cover my PSS. It literally, I mean, this is the potential there. It was like criminal negligent level type stuff. So I'm like, I need it as a police officer again. Like I have to protect myself.
Cover my bases.
Yeah. So I have mountains of data. Anyways, sorry, it's after the point now. It doesn't matter. So
but you wanted to protect. I want to protect some
stuff. Yeah. And so we're just hanging out, right? And so we're waiting on hearing what our next steps are, because that was part of it too. Is like we didn't want the church to have a negative impact. We want the congregants to be affected. Like let them continue on. We don't want them to wonder and ask questions. So how do we approach this? Well, we need to go and we'll read our little letter. The church can approve it, make sure it doesn't say anything inflammatory in it, but like our season is done and we're gonna leave, and wish you guys the best. Never had that chance.
Yeah,
never were given that chance, which is just wild.
You were just gone.
Yeah, and at the time, which another kind of thing that I glossed over was that When I was told I was being removed, that God said my time was up. It was that God said my time on staff and as an elder was up. Well, you can't actually do that.
Right.
So according to the bylaws, that really is reserved for folks who are living in open sin.
Which you were.
So like an alcoholic or, adulterer or something. And the conditions in the bylaws would govern you guys being able to, like me, being able to have basically my day in court. Like I'd have to be able to go and present my case to the elder board, who would then vote, and they would vote me out. It's a lengthy process.
Innocent until proven
It's not
guilty.
something you can just say, "Thus saith the Lord." And the bylaws hadn't been changed where it was, basically him in charge yet. So it's still that requirement for majority vote. Anyway, so I was technically still an elder.
Yeah.
And so I had reached out to the elder board. I was like, hey, like, this is what's happened. I would love to have my chance to defend myself. I don't think this is correct. And yeah, just let me know when the next meeting was, because technically I should be there anyways at the meeting. And never heard back, never got any information. So I took that radio silence and said, okay, I'm going to at least type out basically like my letter of resignation from the elder board. So I'll resign. I get the point. Like, obviously you don't want me if I can't even, I still to date haven't got a text message or email or phone call from guys that I was like pretty close to, on the elder board, which, is wild to think as well, because of, it's like you're supposed to be brothers, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they were told never to read my messages for fear of insubordination. So nobody had ever read one of my messages that I'd sent. And
weren't allowed to contact you.
Weren't allowed to contact me. Weren't allowed to reach out to me or Lindsay. And, so that was it. So I'm waiting for my day to be able to, have that conversation. And the next thing we find out from somebody who forwarded us a screenshot of an email is that there's going to be an info meeting where they're going to answer all the questions that everybody has.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, that would be important to be at. Well, come to find out, the HR director, so Woodard and Harris, had the meeting with me where they had to sign the NDA, which ironically enough, I wrote the non-disclosure agreement. And what I did in there on behalf of the congregation or the employees was, I put in there a clause that was mutually binding, so that if, it was like a don't speak ill of the church, but then I made it where it was like, all right, if the church speaks ill of you, like, this is null and void.
So I guess for people listening, why? Because obviously being on staff is very different than being a part of the congregation. There's a lot of, you have the 501c3 of the business side of it. Then you have the spiritual side of it, which a lot of people don't understand, but it is how it runs. And so you being on the other side of it, I guess a lot of people will listen and have listened and go, why an NDA?
Yeah.
Why would you require an NDA?
Again, a sign.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign. If you have things to hide, which again, like ironically enough, in that meeting where I was going to sign the NDA, Woodard was like, with the information you have, you could do a lot of damage to the church. Well, that's something you'd say if you're guilty. Like, why would you?
Right.
Who would say that?
Right.
Like, what church can you think of that is like?
So when you arrived at it, what was your mind behind it? Like, what was your?
Well, this was a pre-existing document, so I went through it and edited it because a lot of their documents were kind of like not coherent. So I just kind of cleaned it up.
Them.
Yeah, I cleaned it up and then added that element in there that would both protect the employees as well, because that wasn't part of it. To me, part of my responsibility was the idea of transparency and accountability. So that was my kind of COO, but also like the kind of the prophet role. And so that was in documents, but it was also in staff meetings and things, the org chart.
So in simple terms, you don't
practical things that I did, like having audio video recordings in counseling rooms so that we would be able to not, if anybody were to, like just for accountability and also for the congregants to hold us accountable for anything that we said. So that was that mutual like kind of clause. So, but the point of it was if you sign this, then you're essentially going to get your severance. If you don't get your severance. So it's like, it's a bribe essentially.
Yeah. So in simple terms, it's you don't slander us, we don't slander you.
Yeah.
And if we slander you, then you get to defend yourself. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, you could like civil suit or whatever too, if you really wanted to. And the funniest thing was for us, and this is, I guess, funny in hindsight. And this is a whole nother side thing, like a sideshow. Yeah. But like, so we had audio video cameras in the mods, like in the office and stuff. And the person that was the head of security, who was also let go, still had access to them because the person that they put in charge of IT actually didn't know how to
Had no IT experience.
had no IT experience and had no way of changing logins or anything because they couldn't even log into the. And so like they would these people would send us, which I would ask them not to at some point because I was like, I'd rather not know. But they'd send us things where the staff and meetings are like outwardly like basically talking crap about it.
So you're watching a list
Like TV that I had avoid the NDA, in real time. So, yeah. But yeah, that was so we did the NDA thing.
And how long did that last? How long was the awesome NDA?
Ours was 3 months.
3 months,
which is great. Praise God for it. But like, I'd also prefer not to be unemployed.
Yeah. So the 3 months. So the 3 months NDA. I guess kind of get technical with that. So 3 months. Are you not allowed to share anything with anybody? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so that's so just non-disclosure agreements. That means you're not allowed to share really any details or speak disparagingly about the other party. So
just pretty much you weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're watching yourself get
destroyed,
but you're not allowed to respond.
Yeah, I can't respond. So yeah, it was a total crapshoot. So so we did that. And then they scheduled the info meeting on the only week that I was not going to be in town.
Yeah, which, for those of you listening, that's the meeting that I referenced in the last episode that we went to.
With the power outage.
Yeah, with the power outage for the service. And later on, they had the meeting where he got really scared and decided not to take any questions.
Which I can tell you some funny...
Left the building very
so here's some interesting food for thought. So Chad was so paranoid that he was going to be literally assaulted is what he thought. He thought it was going to be like mobbed or something.
Like if we were going to get physically violent with him.
That's what he's
not that important.
He was expecting the word that the security team had rented a car that nobody would be able to identify that was waiting gassed for him so he could have a getaway car.
Not a getaway car, child, with the plates and oh my Lord.
Rental getaway car. What? Gassed and ready.
What in the Fast and Furious is happening?
It makes you think it's like some kind of movie we're talking about.
So this is guy into
Carolina, y'all going to the road.
Not.
So the other fun fact was that my wife went with a best friend of hers. And I had written a letter. It wasn't. I still have the letter.
And I remember watching it like she was ready to present it.
Yeah. But my thing was like, if given the chance to speak, I wanted to like be able to
represent yourself,
an opportunity to say it because they scheduled it without me being present.
And it wasn't anything salacious. You weren't like it wasn't like she's gonna start screaming for
the. It was just to get some closure and tell people we cared and loved them, and we're happy to have spent the time with them that we did. Right. So again, we found out after the fact. It's the problem when you let people go and you're letting everybody go. You can't afford NDAs for everybody. Saying it's not physically possible, and so that ship sailed and people started spilling. And so the security person that I am so really good friends with let me know that in that meeting there were flashcards of like people's pictures of enemies of the house, which is what they would call people that were insubordinate.
Cards.
And people's
being on a flashcard.
You were on a flashcard, brother.
Oh my God.
You made the list.
I want to know what picture they used.
No. It wasn't flattering.
Probably not flattering at all.
So they had pictures of people to watch out for because by then they had to have so many new people that here I didn't recognize so many people. Right?
And y'all are getting my real time reaction. Lee told me that he purposely was not going to tell me this because he wanted to get my real time reaction. So this is really.
And this is the.
I've never heard this.
I got this for you. Ready?
Yeah.
So you got flashcards, right? So you heard them talking about on the radio, right? This is like second person testimony, whatever. If you really want to have that, I could probably schedule them to come on. Give their first
I would love that.
I'm saying that the security team was there was 3 people that were surrounded Lindsay and this friend when they walked in.
Yes, I remember that.
3 grown men around my
I do remember that.
Wife.
Yes,
right,
super small.
Yeah, but she's never heard a fly. No. And they were told. I'm laughing about it now because it's insane, but it's not funny. So. Just appreciate my mixed emotions here. They were told if she were to speak, to put her on the ground, physically restrain her, and carry her out of the building. Yeah,
literally tackle her to the ground and carry her
to the ground, put her on the ground, and physically restrain her and drag her out of the building if she spoke.
Like nobody else in the room would have a reaction to that. Like everybody else would just be cool with it.
I hope somebody would stop them, but they can't. So
a lot of people would have stopped armed.
I mean, these are all armed security guys. I mean, they had firearms, and so there's like a state statute, like a law, you can't disrupt the service, and they were going to use that against her to like legally restrain her and arrest her and have her carried out. So that's the level of fear.
Next week, we wrap up Lee's story and talk about the aftermath after Bridgeway Church. More bombshells are dropped and more secrets are revealed. Join us next week for the season finale of Losing My Religion. See you then.